we're going to talk through some information here because the quadruple is on. Nubaid, the quadruple is on. And the likelihood of it is way more likely than I think a lot of people will have thought. Of course, already one piece of tin in the cabinet. Happy with that? I'd hope so.
Yeah, I mean, Carabao Cup. I love that Man City fans were getting so annoyed because obviously they won 3 straight and nobody cared. And now Liverpool have won it. People going, look at the story. The kids have done it. So yeah, buzzing.
So it should be. So obviously, yeah, great story. I think if the way that competition is sort of looked at a lot of the time, people kind of turn their nose up at it. So to kind of win it in that style kind of seems to give it a lot more gravitas. And yeah, cracking final last week. And good to get that one and it's terrible, isn't it? But it's good to get that one done for any team, right? But this does feel so romantic when it comes to Jurgen Klopp in terms of getting that second Premier League title. And then when it comes to a quadruple, to finish it, to complete the set with a Europa League would be very, very special. And in terms of, next up, the FA Cup, they were fortunate with the League Cup to a point because Newcastle took out Man City and that took out some of the big hitters. And with the FA Cup, Man City up against Newcastle, Chelsea against Leicester, which... I mean, Chelsea could easily get knocked out by Leicester, who are a very, very good team, who I hope lose this weekend because they're playing a team that's really doing well at the moment, my team, QPR. But then you've got Man United against Liverpool in the FA Cup. Man United aren't kind of what they were. So again, the sort of field could be taken out a little bit without them having to sort of take big hitter after big hitter after big hitter. The Europa League, when you look at the names there, again, wow, it feels like it's written, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. There's
some good sides in there, guys.
Yeah,
there's some good sides in there.
The last game of Klopp's era could be against his heir.
Yeah.
In Leverkusen, of course, and Alonso. The other big teams in there, I think you got, I guess you could chuck in Roma as a name there. Milan, of course. Leverkusen we've spoken about. West Ham still in there. I think keeping Brighton in mind as well is a good one as well.
Sporting Lisbon having a good
Sporting
season.
Lisbon, true. So, but again, it's one where, if this is a video game, you expect them to go pretty far in that. So that's all there. That's one. That's already one. So it comes to the Premier League, right? And how are you feeling about the schedule of this quadruple run? Because I think would you say that hurt them last year, or they did pretty well, didn't they, in terms of dealing with it?
Last year it was just Gundogan magic on the final day of Man City. Man City are incredible on the final day of the season. You don't want to let it go to the final day of the season, Man City, because they will always win the league. I don't think it was a scheduling thing, and they came up against a good Real Madrid team. Benzema carried them on his back, and Vinicius was in great form. I think in another year, Liverpool win the quadruple that year. So I think Klopp will know how to gear his team up for that run-in. You see how much he rotates in domestic cup competitions. People used to say that he doesn't care about them. I think he's shown that he does care about them, but he knows the limitations of his squad. I just think it's about Man City. I think it's about Man City because I think you guys win the Europa League, and the other two competitions that you need to win, Man City are also in those competitions. So
I think also the scheduling part is interesting because of the injuries. There's no Matip, so Liverpool are down to 3 centre-backs. They're play Joe Gomez at left-back for the majority of the season. Jota's out for a while. Trent is struggling with this knee, recently seen in a brace. We probably won't see Thiago. Alisson's still out, and these cup games could land when one of these guys is still missing. Salah's injured again. So there's a lot of things moving, and Liverpool don't have the size of squad I'd say the quality of squad that maybe Man City do. The only thing Liverpool are probably hoping for, say with the league, is can City keep getting trapped in difficult draws in the Champions League? That's the team that stands between Liverpool and the quadruple, in my opinion. And like Kweku said, if you meet them in the FA Cup final, they stop you there, and the Premier League, and Liverpool go and win Europa League and the Carabao Cup, that would also be very symbolic of Klopp's tenure at Liverpool. That he's done it somewhat, but there's always that blue machine in the way.
That's a great point.
I think it's because there's been a lot of talk from what I've seen. People almost, and I'm sorry for doing this, but we're talking about Liverpool again. People are talking about Liverpool a lot because it is feels like such a story, of course, with Klopp leaving. Do you think that could lead to sort of an emotional draining within this squad as well? Because I guess you've got all these players out. One good thing can be is if you can kind of keep it going, and the fixtures aren't too bad. You've got Nottingham Forest away next, of course, fighting for their lives right now. But they would obviously hope to get through that. Man City, the week after that at home, is obviously going to be very,
That's
very
enormous.
difficult.
Liverpool win that game and they go actually 4 points clear.
Yeah.
But do you think that... But you seem quite confident that with injuries or without injuries, and with, the gravitas, we saw it with Arsenal last year, of a run-in, add a dollop of Klopp leaving as well, the Klopp dollop. and is it as easy as you think when, Everton, Brighton, Crystal Palace could be in a better place, but then Fulham always a difficult side to play. West Ham always a team to break down as well. Tottenham, it's one of those ones where you look at the FPL colours and it's not as true as it seems. Do you think that could play a factor in this in terms of steam, emotional steam?
No, because I think this Liverpool team has shown this season, there was points in the season where they haven't played well and they've got points. And I think that against teams like Forest and Everton and Brighton and Sheffield United, I think that Liverpool are going to win those games. It's the game against Man City that's the big one. It's the game against Manchester United, which is the big one, because Man United coming and getting a point at Anfield is huge. And if you had won that game, there'll be more daylight between you and Man City. So I think that Liverpool win the games you expect them to win. It's just the games against Man City. And like you say, it's that big blue wall that stands between them and destiny, because Jurgen Klopp is... If you look at the pantheon of Premier League managers, you've got Alex Ferguson at the top, you've got Pep Guardiola, and then just take your pick in terms of what you fancy. You've got Jose, you've got Arsene Wenger, you've got Jurgen Klopp. Jurgen Klopp doesn't need to win 3 Premier League titles to be greater than them, because we know what he's come up against. He just needs to win another one. And we're talking about him as one of the all-time greats. And so I think that he knows that, but you listen to him in press conferences, he's more relaxed now. I heard him compare the Liverpool's kids to Luke Littler in the darts. I'm hearing a different Jurgen Klopp, because he knows it's coming to an end, and I think he genuinely was tired and it had drained him, and he's going to take a sabbatical. He's one of those managers that does need a break. And so I think the handbrake is off now, and the players have got something to fight for. The goal doesn't need to be spoken about. You know what you're fighting for. You're fighting for history, and also you're fighting for a manager that showed so much faith in all of these players. These are all Klopp players. Yeah. And so I think that Liverpool are in a great position, but it's about whether you can surpass Man City.
I think at the moment is the strongest I've seen the squad in terms of Bradley's come in for Trent and it looks seamless. Kwanzaa's come in multiple times at centre-back. Van Dijk's playing to a level that it doesn't still reach that level, but he's still playing to a level where he's now winning games for Liverpool.
He was unbelievable in that cup.
Yeah, and he also scored the winner the week before. So
can you speak about that though? That he's not playing to that level. I don't know. I'll compare him to John Terry. I've seen John Terry. There's been different iterations on John Terry. John Terry 0405 monster. Obviously next to Ricardo Carvalho, who helped him through it, but he was one of the best players in the league. He won the PFA Player of the Year. But then John Terry under Jose Mourinho 14-15 when Chelsea won the league, he played every single game. A very different John Terry, but I'd say maybe better. I know Van Dijk is not physically as great as he was when that 2-year period where he was at his prime, but this is Van Dijk that I'm watching week in, week out. I'm like, yo, you are clearly the best centre-back in the world, and it's not even close.
Yeah, and I think, because of how great he was then, I've said it multiple times, that version of Van Dijk is the best centre-back I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. Now, this version just cannot compete with that version, but he's still better than everyone else. And I think the reason I mention him is because I think he's critical in this running, because there's a lot of games there where people are going to look at the fixtures and there's a lot of green in front of me, which is the FPL colours when a fixture's easy. But Everton are fighting for their lives, Forest are fighting for their lives, Sheffield United are fighting for their lives, Palace are going to be fighting, Fulham have been great at times, West Ham and Tottenham, Villa, they're all fighting for you. Every team is fighting for something. No game is going to be Liverpool are going to win that at Cantor. I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah,
the final thing I want to say about Van Dijk, which I think is really important here, is that with all these kind of other guys being injured, sort of when you lean on your centre-backs or you've lost those players, a lot of teams would go, okay, let's be careful. But because you've got Konate and Van Dijk, what's wild is they're going, okay, who can we lean on? Let's lean on, and they did in the cup final. They leaned on Konate, Van Dijk, and Endo. And Endo looked like he was out of position a lot of the time. He's working.
Speak on Endo.
He was working so hard to the point where Chelsea should have won that game because of the spaces that he left, because there wasn't enough running around him because of the injuries, right? But that's a really interesting thing with Liverpool, is that because you've got Van Dijk and Konate, instead of being more cautious, their best form of defence is to go, just leave it to us and we'll figure it out. And I think that's a good road to tread when you've got these youngsters who've clearly got energy but might not be as kind of cute. So it's about getting at them. But the thing I've said from the start of the season has been what I like about Liverpool in terms of having a chance of winning it is having answers to go and win the game. The cup final last week, it was one where it was a bit of Diaz brilliance, or it was going to be a set piece, and you can't rely on that time and time again. So that's where I'm a little bit concerned. So some players need to get back.
The one thing I would say on that is the X factor of the team has been taken out. Alisson, Trent and Salah, they are the X factor of the team. They're all three of them are cheat codes. So
and Darwin and Szoboszlai in terms of that next layer as well.
Exactly. And so like you're missing 5 guys who can all win you a game whenever they want. You get 2 of those back at any given time in this run-in, and they'll probably have all 5 back at some point. You suddenly go, hold on a minute. Like these other teams that I'm looking at here, Leverkusen could stop them, but in a 1-game occasion or over 2 legs, none of these teams are going to stop them.
But you talked about cheat codes there. I think Van Dijk is the ultimate cheat code because Salah goes down injured. Cool, you've got replacements. Liverpool got an incredible front line. Trent goes down. Bradley's been amazing. If Van Dijk gets injured, I think you're done. And he's the ultimate cheat code. You talked about Van Dijk, Konate and Endo and letting everybody else go and do it. That was the foundation of Liverpool being so great for years, because Van Dijk was a one-on-one defender. He would just defend, and Liverpool would defend as a team. Obviously, Klopp is a great manager, but if it came down to one-on-one defending, Van Dijk would just do his job. And I think that if you were to lose him, which fingers crossed you don't, because for some reason I'm rooting for Liverpool in this run-in, it will be disastrous. So I think he's such an important player, not just defensively. He scores a lot of goals as well, Van Dijk, which is a great trait in a defender that we've seen in the best defenders in the past.